to another edition of the Queen's Court. If you haven't already, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, as well as hit the notification button so you'll be notified anytime the Queen's Court, the crossover, the controversy, the NBA report, and obviously pregame, postgame, and the morning shoot around with the creator of this channel, Simeon Russell. Appreciate all of you guys for rocking with us. The Knicks are currently 25-34. Yes, 25-34. 12th in the Eastern Conference, 3.5 games out of the play-in spot. I'm joined today by Tony Crow, a panelist on MBK, my co-host for the crossover, Chris, who's been rocking with us since the beginning, and Galvin from Duval County. He could talk a little bit more about his background. He's a frequent caller to the show, so I'm happy to have him on. We're going to go over last week's games. We're going to talk about the upcoming games. We're going to do our rookie spotlight. We're going to talk about the rookies a bit more today. So, the chat, you could talk about who you would like to see in the lineup, in the rotation, and why. So let me bring these guys in. Oh, they're already in. Hello, guys. How are you?
Salutes.
Peace, Queens.
Salute, what
Peace
up,
to
everybody?
Gavin and Your Black is Time. I'm ready.
All right. Any first words before we get into last week's games, Chris?
You already
Galvin?
know, Steph. You already know what I'm about to say.
What? Obi won the dunk
OB
contest.
Yes.
topic.
Yes. You already know.
Okay.
Even though it was a weak contest, I will agree. But he showed up and did what he was supposed to do. I would have wanted him to finish a little different on some of his dunks, but I mean, for what everybody else was doing, he just kept it real, simple to his game plan. So I give it to him. Salute to my boy Obi.
All right. Galvin, talk a little bit about your background as well, what you were sharing with us prior to the show.
Yeah, so salute everybody. Queen, Chris, Tony. Thank you guys for having me. Like you said, frequent caller in. Watch it every chance I get. I watch it at work. I binge watch episodes to get through work sometimes. So thank you guys for having me on. But yeah, like I told, like I was saying, is my view on the game is a lot different from the average fan. Being somebody who was a lifelong player, my dad played Division I ball, was a college coach for almost 10 years, and then I got a chance to serve at the Division I level, as a scout and part of player development. So um, a lot of the things that I see does not just come from being a disgruntled Knicks fan. Yes, I have some opinions, but our viewpoint of fans is just not how front offices and organizations think about the game, you know. And as much as we feel sometimes that we would make better GMs and coaches, that is the reason that we are on this podcast talking about it, and we are not the ones on the hardwood. So
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a mix. I mean, I played college basketball. I coached college basketball. Chris played college basketball. Tony, you play basketball at all?
I was cut in high school,
Okay. Okay.
but
Okay.
hey, I follow the game. You know what
Tony,
I
Right.
you
mean.
like a Cole Anthony type player coming in with your Timbs on.
I've definitely played in Tim's, and salute to Cole Anthony. He rep New York. So even though he didn't get far, salute to that man.
Yeah. Definitely. And I mean, that could be, some of the disconnect sometimes, at least between myself and the chat, because I'm a fan, of course, but then I'm also coming from a different perspective. So I'm always talking about you play to win no matter what.
Yeah.
And people in the chat probably like, we got to cut our losses and we got to play these young guys so we can see what we got. But it's just not something I believe in. And that's probably because of my background. But anyway, let's get into last week's games. It was only two, so we'll talk about that a bit. Let me pull that up. So we played OKC. Oh man. I don't even want to go through it, but I'm gonna go through. I like to just kind of remind because it's a weekly show. I try to go through. I'm gonna go through it quick just to remind us of the games that we're going to be talking about for some context. So we played OKC. OKC limped into the Garden, having lost 5 straight. Um, but the Knicks were not any better. Basically, coming into that game, having lost 12 of their last 15 games coming into OKC. Randall had that 30-point triple double, but he had 4 turnovers in the last 4 minutes of regulation and overtime. Randall has been playing well in the sense, that his these triple doubles, these 30 points, these double digit rebounds, those they keep us in the game. Yeah, at least, down the stretch, we're in the game with a chance to win. At the same time, though, closing is important. And I know this is part of Randall's development about getting better. That last 5 minutes, the best players in the league, they not turning the ball over, they hitting they foul shots.
True.
They'll try to draw a foul just to stem the tide and get to the line and hopefully change momentum. Like these are all of the things Randall has to learn, and the team as a whole, not just him. You know, um, we're not a very good foul shooting team, and we have to get better down the stretch. Um, the Knicks are playing at a faster pace as of late, but against OKC in that fourth quarter and overtime, the pace seemed to slow down a little bit, and we lost the game. I mean, that was I thought that was a heartbreak. I thought that was a stunner until we get to the Brooklyn game. So Brooklyn was without KD, without Kyrie, without Simmons, who was traded for Harden. He didn't play. The Knicks had a 28-point first half lead. And I remember tweeting out, I'm not impressed. Am I the only one worried that we're going to lose this game? Sure enough. Now, what I will say is Brooklyn made their comeback, and the Knicks kind of stemmed the tide for a little bit, was able to bring the lead back up increase the lead sometime in the third quarter. But Cam Thomas out of LSU just made every big shot there was to be made. And the Knicks lost. The Knicks lost. So let me get this. Let me get this back up. I lost the screen. Oh, here we go. All right. So yeah, let me go back to OKC. Randall, 30 points, 13 rebounds, 10 assists. Fournier had 29 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists in that game. Grimes, rookie, has been starting with RJ out, 19.7 rebounds, hit 5 3-pointers in that game. And Giddey, a rookie for OKC, 28 points, 11 rebounds, 12 assists. Really did his thing that game. Against the Nets, here come Randall again, 31 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. Quickly showed up, 18 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Fournier, 16 points, 3 assists, and a steal. So we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. Let me just get back to the panel. Anything about those 2 games, which is the only 2 games we played last week? Anything player-wise, team-wise, coach-wise that stands out for you? Galvin, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so the OKC game.
Is it Gavin? I don't see a L. It's Gavin, right?
Yeah, Gavin. Yeah.
Gavin, we'll start with you. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. The biggest thing with the OKC game is, like you said, I think one of the biggest things is Randall's 7 turnovers, but 4 of them were when it mattered most. Like you said,
Right.
I want to say 4 of them were in like the last three and a half minutes of regulation, and then the one where he threw it up to the front office in the stands. The other thing that was disappointing about that to me was the fact that you have Kemba playing almost 30 minutes, scoring 9 points and just getting cooked. And you have Obi and Cam on the bench who combined played 15 minutes. And it's like you just can't tell me that these guys can't contribute and help us in some type of way. Like I said, 30 minutes for Kemba, 9 points, and probably giving up 20. Like it's not good. And the Knicks are a team that's every time a team comes to play us, somebody's having a career night.
Yeah.
Like teams feel good about coming to play us because they know that somebody is going to get off that night. And it's just unfortunate. In that game is another IQ just couldn't seem to find it. Still jacking up shots and things, but I get it. Trying to change the momentum at certain times of the game, but it's when it's not working, it's just you need to find other times, because trying to gain momentum can actually ruin any momentum that you have and put you deeper down in the hole. So
Yeah, no doubt. Chris, and then we'll get to Tony.
I I think I said this before. When Rose first went out, I really don't feel comfortable when the starters come out after a nice run because the bench doesn't have a glue guy to kind of put people where they need to be and do things on that aspect. So a lot of times we'll have a big lead and then it'll start dwindling down and then Tibbs takes a long time to put the starters back in. The other thing that I think we've all talked about on all different podcasts and stuff is that we have people that we pay money to play point, but Randall is the offense is still running through Randall, and that causes a lot of his turnovers because um he doesn't make. I don't think he makes good decisions. He waits till the double team comes before he gets the ball away. Sometimes, and sometimes, as you know, we all know, he does the dribble into a double team and kind of jump spin pass thing like that. And I think at this point we we should see something different. Like he should be able to recognize the defense is a little quicker and to know where people are. Um, and I also think with Tibbs, he has to manage um the minutes a little better. I definitely feel like he has to make a decision with Kimba. I mean, everybody's high on Kimba and stuff, but as Gavin says, the defensive side we lose it. I mean, um, yeah, I mean he could give us the best on the offensive side, but on the defense is what are we to go to zone to kind of cover his handicap a little bit? Like I don't really know like what we can do to help that aspect. But he does, the person that's he's guarding scores a lot of points. And also, as far as the people coming to the garden, this is the mecca of basketball. This is where you show out. Everybody that's coming to New York is going to play their best game. We have people I've never even heard of having like career nights in the garden. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Like, who is this rookie? Like, what school did like I'm looking him up? Like, yo, what school did this guy go to? Like, because I'm like, where's this coming from? Even in the Brooklyn game, it was some people that I was like, yo, who is this person? And it's like at the end of the day, the Knicks used to have a thing where um they took pride in that playing at home. Like this is our house. We played gritty defense. We did everything we supposed to do to make sure we protected home. I just don't see that in them now. So I'm not even really sure like how they can get it back. I know you can't really base it upon one person, but I really want to see, what Cam Reddish can do. I think some way you have to fit him in some way. I mean, he could mix some things up. I seen him, steal a ball, out of bound from the other team they was going down. So I mean, listen, we have to make some better decisions. We have to make some better decisions with the ball. Quickly, he's great when he's hitting, but when he's not, you know, I just don't know. I just have a feeling that I hope that during this break, everybody has rested. They woosah. They got their bodies and their minds together. Tibbs got a new strategy of what he's gonna do because it's looking real rough, bro. And I don't think we paid the money that we paid these players to take.
Yeah, definitely. Tony?
Oh man, you brought up them stats and opened up these wounds that I thought kind of healed a little bit over. Like I can't even tell you which game was worse, like a worse
They
loss.
both were
You,
Tony.
you, you know what I mean? Like that. Well, that's what I mean. Like they hurt equally as bad, and I can't really have a justification for either one of them. But as far as some things that stood out is, I mean, this was obvious prior to, but just like reconfirming that when Tibbs, when you earn Tibbs' trust and you get in his rotation, you're gonna stick there. And so we're quickly, you know, bad slump he's been in for the longest prior to the Nets game, and then roll with him and gave him that opportunity at the end to, I believe, tie the game, that game.
Hmm.
And wide open shot, missed the shot, but it just opened my eyes a little bit. Like, Tibbs really believes in his kid because he got him out there in a crucial possession, and you know went to him, and then same thing happened in the Nets game. Another opportunity for Quick down the stretch to I believe, I think that was to tie. I think the prior game would have won it, but either way, went to Quickly down the stretch, crucial moment, and people are arguing and making these complaints about playing the young guys, but you once you get there, you there. You know what I mean? So let these guys earn their way into that spot, into that spot for like in Tibbs' heart. You know what I mean? Because once you get there, you were seeing it with Grimes. Everybody's gotta wait their turn. Another thing that did stand out in that OKC game, a tough loss, but Kimba, had a bad shooting night. I think he had like 8 or 9 assists though. So that's what we're gonna need from him. If he's not scoring, you need to contribute. Find a way to contribute. Find a way to affect the game, like Tibbs always says. But I mean, other than that, it's the same thing, man. We're playing better. We look better as a team. The offense is like it looks better, and then we have these lapses, and we blowing leads, and it's this might be one of the toughest seasons, man. I'll tell you.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, for me, it was the Knicks are still struggling with things that we should have worked out by now. How to close a game. Like, that'll happen. You got new players on the team. That tends to happen early. By this time in the season, you've kind of short that up a little bit. And that's just not the case. The LA game, the Brooklyn game, and I forgot the other game. Might have even been OKC. I'm not sure, but just a big 20-point leads and just not able to hold on to it. Now, don't get me wrong. It's a, teams are going to battle back. It's going to be hard to hold on to a 28-point lead and win by 28. You know what I mean? But you got to bend, but don't break. They're going to make their run. You make your run, so that by the end of the game, that's a huge cushion to have, so that by the end of the game, all right, you win by 10, you win by 8 or whatever it is. This has just been a massive failure on the Knicks part. And they're 3.5 games out of 500. I mean, excuse me, out of that playing spot, they're not getting it if you can't learn how to close games. Now, Rose is coming back. Um, that may help. But that brings up another question, because we're going to talk about the young guys today. Rose is you already know my answer to the question, but I'm gonna put it out to the panel. RJ's coming back. Rose is coming back. Do you make that run for the playing spot, or do you call it a season and just take a look at guys, for next year? Because you're gonna have to make some decisions in this off season, whether you are going to stay young or whether you're going to cash in some of these young guys for older guys. Do you call it a season, so that the other organizations can get a look at them and improve their value, whether you're going to keep them or trade them, or do you play to win? So, Chris, then Gavin, then Tony. Tony's been going last. You go first next time, Tony.
Steph, I'm playing to win. I'm taking it to the house. Money's on the house. I feel like I said, we put a lot of money into a lot of players, and I don't want to tank. That's not something we want to do. Um, and we decided to keep our players and not make any trades. So I think at the end of the day, you have to show something. You have to show us something as fans, the league, that you serious, because people are looking, people are watching. You know what I'm saying? Free agents is watching. Should I even take a chance on the Knicks? So for you to do all the stuff that you do, make all those changes and upgrades and stuff. Well, what the Nick office probably feel is upgrades. For you to tank, that just says a lot. And I just want to piggyback on something Gavin said. People are not looking to come here. So I think we need to kind of, even though we had a rough season, like put on a strong second half and just really go out and try to go out as, and get a playoff spot. Try to get into the bubble. Whatever we need to do to show that we legitimate. Because right now, it's not looking good for us right now.
Right. And let me ask you, Chris, do you think, because playing the young guys can mean a lot of different things. For some people that means sitting all of the vets and just playing, a roster like McBride, Grimes, RJ, Obi, um, Mitch. That's what it means to some guys, to some fans. But others may just mean increasing their minutes. When you say play to win, what does that mean? Staying with this same starting lineup
I
or
think
and
this.
rotation?
I think that the starting lineup does have to change. I'm not really comfortable with Burks at the one. Um, I also feel like some of the off the bench rotations. Um, I mean, some of them earn their keep. Like Grimes earned their keep, earned some minutes. I believe Obi earned some minutes. There's some guys that legitimately earn some minutes to be on the floor, and I feel like you have to give them an opportunity, but you also have to put them in situations where they can be effective. A lot of times they're coming in when we're down, and you're trying to make them make a run and stuff like that. And then sometimes I forget what game it was. He did have the bench in, and they made a run, and then as soon as they made a run where it was close, he took all of them back out and put the starters back in. So I think that kind of does something too. As a young player, okay, I got us back into the game. But as soon as we get to the point where we're tied up or we're like maybe 4 points up or 6 points off, you snatch us, that does something too. So I just feel like it has to be some consistency. I can't play to the next 4 or 5 games and then you don't pay me the next 2 games, and then you pay me 3 games, and then you don't play me 5 games. Like there has to be some consistency. Or if you come and say, you know what, I'm playing people situational. Like against this team, I need long people. I need people that can play defense. I need people who play the passing lane. Like if you say that to me, then I can understand. But just blatantly not playing people or just deciding to put somebody in for 4 minutes and taking them out and not playing them anymore. Like I don't know, 9 minutes and not playing them anymore. I don't see the rationale with that, especially when we're losing.
Okay, all right. Gavin, the question is, Rose and RJ's coming back. We making this push, or it's a wrap?
I think there's two things. One is you have to see tanking is a front office decision. That
Yeah.
like that's not a coach's decision. Any coach, any player who has been around the game, especially professional athletes, like nobody likes to lose. It's embarrassing, you know. Um, so and especially somebody with like Tibbs who has had a proven track record where he's only had 2 losing seasons in his career, like the level that he's gotten to in his coach career, like I can't honestly see him being okay with just saying, "Hey, we're gonna lose." And like I said in the back room, if my coach came to me and said, "Hey guys, we're calling it, we're calling it quits, we're throwing in the towel," like I'm gonna look at dude like he's crazy because like this is our job. This is you got to think about all the years, you know, and the minutes they put in, the practices that they put in to get to this level. For you to tell me that basically all the hard work that I've put in, we're just gonna call it quits is really disrespectful. Um, Now the thing with what us fans say as tanking is when they think tanking, I think it's because they look at these other teams who have tanked, and I don't think that they've purposely tanked. I think that they really have just been that bad that like that they just have had no success. Like you see, like OKC, like we talked about his built their team around the draft. Cleveland has done a good job. But the other thing that I say is when you look at these other markets, they're not playing in New York. Like there is no pressure in these other markets to perform. Even when the Knicks are the laughing stock of the league, it's still national headlines. So even when we're losing, there is still pressure to win ball games. Um, but I mean, tanking to me, I mean, if we're saying okay, play the young guys, and really when they say play the young guys, the only two young guys who are not playing is Deuce and Sims. So if
Right.
there's like, I'm all for increasing minutes. And honestly, I don't think that putting Sims and Deuce out there, I don't think we will be that much worse. So, I mean, to me, tanking would literally be like RJ is limited to 15 minutes. Randall's going down to 10 minutes. We're starting OB every other night, things like that. But like, there's no way to physically like try to tank with the roster that we have because it's not like we're that great of a roster, anyways. Um,
Right.
but like I said, I'm definitely all for increasing the minutes of the young guys. Like I would like to see Deuce get in, especially when I'm seeing Kimba playing 30 minutes, scoring 9 and giving up 29. Like you can't tell me the Deuce can't go out there. Hell, Deuce can go out there and give up 29 points, you know, but I'd at least like to get him that NBA experience so that leading into next year, we see what he has, and he's already been experienced to NBA level, the NBA speed of the game, because it's very hard to one play somebody as a rookie, but then play them their second year and you expect a whole bunch from them when they never got real game experience is very hard to do. You're just throwing them into the fire. Um, but I'm all for increasing minutes. But I mean, I feel like we're tanking and we're not even trying to. We're just a bad basketball team. So, like I said, playing the young guys
Yeah.
doesn't, I don't think we get any worse. Um, I don't even think that we get any better. I mean, it may look a little bit better on the court, but I still don't think that it will result to an increase in wins.
Yeah, no doubt. No about it, but no doubt about it. I think what I would add is when you increase minutes, you have to decrease minutes of someone, someone else. If you add a player in the rotation, that means a player that's already in the rotation is coming out, and then you also have to pay attention to the position um, that they play as well. And
Exactly.
what I'll add before I get to Tony is I'm playing to win. But putting in increasing a young guy's minutes doesn't necessarily mean that I'm still not trying to get to go for the plan. Like for me, I feel like if you think Cam gives you a better chance to win than Burks, put him in. If you think McBride gives you a better chance to win than Kimba, put him in. But you have to play to win. I'm not for putting people in for experience. I'm for putting
Yeah.
people in because you think this guy is going to help you win. And also, we also have to think about, and Tibbs brought this up, it's not just what they do statistically, it's about the team that's out there with them, how that team functions together. That's a big
Mhm.
part of it as well. Tony?
I think you hit the nail on the head. You you can't just give the people the spots. Number one, Tibbs is gonna coach to win no matter who's on the floor. You know what I mean? If five players are out and now he has to use five players that weren't getting playing time, he's still gonna be coaching that game and using whatever strategy he comes up with to try to win the game. He's not gonna say, "Oh, RJ Randall, blase blah blase blah out. I'm rocking with these rookies, but I'm not gonna try to win the game." He's gonna try to win every game. So
No doubt.
as far as like that, I'm with you guys. We're not tanking, or we're not trying to lose games for lottery positioning.
We
What I
don't do
would say
good in the
is,
lottery.
I mean, and
Right,
that's
right,
true
right,
too.
You
right.
know
What I
what's
will
the
say
highest
though
we had
is,
is 8.
you can do
3,
things
RJ.
like you could do things like sit Kemba for his own benefit. Like these games are meaningless. You could decrease minutes of starters and things like that. But I don't do that until 7 more losses.
Mm.
So until we get 7 more losses, I'm not until we don't even have a chance to reach 500. You know what I mean? I'm not doing it. I'm not adjusting anything. I'm going with what Tip says. He feels like that's the best people to win the game. I'm rocking with him. He's an established guy. I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt coming off of a performance of coach of the year, and now people are yelling to fire the man. Like it's so drastic with Knicks fans in
Yeah.
general. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm rocking with him, and I'm not making any adjustments as far as like minutes to bring guys in for experience until we don't have a chance to reach 500 mathematically.
But and I agree with you. But are you okay with him bringing increasing a young guy's minutes if he thinks that young guy gives him a better chance of winning?
Yeah, I mean, you have to. I think Tibbs does that automatically, though. I think that's who he is. We've seen it with Grimes getting opportunity, showing what he could do, and then getting the nod. I don't think he falls out of the rotation with these two guys coming back. I think now he has to make a mental adjustment and say something like, "All right, do I feel better with a Quickly or with a Grimes?" You know what I mean? I think those are going to be more of the adjustments. I mean, and I could be wrong. He could say the same thing. Do I feel better with a Burks or a Grimes? But he's going to go with who he feels gives him that best opportunity. So I don't think I think everything is earned, nothing is given with Tibbs.
And I
And
think that, see,
Yeah.
that's the other thing. It's like I said earlier, is I I wholeheartedly, honestly believe that Tibbs, why he thinks this, I don't know because I'm not in practice with them, but he obviously believes that Kemba really does give this team the best chance to win.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
From
We
what
may
we have seen,
disagree, and I
that's what I say.
disagree, but he believes that. Right.
Let's say I disagree with that.
Right.
Like I said, Kemba's out there scoring 9 in 30 minutes and giving up 30. Like Deuce can go give me 9 points in 30 minutes and pick up full court.
Yeah.
But like Chris, like you said, I think one of the biggest things, and I wrote it down, I circled it on my paper. I think this team needs to play zone. It's a forgotten art of basketball in the NBA now because everything is man, but with the roster that we have, guys who, in my opinion, are very slow footed and have below average defensive IQ, are not quick to move on the fly to the ball. Um,
Yep.
Man is not it. You see how many wide open threes we get. Teams can run down the shot clock on us, 4, 5, 6, 7 passes. We can play the best defense, and we're still giving wide open because it's just a second late. Like
Yeah.
Kemba, Fournier, automatic
Throw
pick
Randall
switch
in
on
there too.
them, and Randall, and it's just like every team takes advantage of the Kemba and Fournier matchup. Everybody in the league is quicker than them. You immediately take a pit. You immediately call for a screen and say, "I want Kimba. I want Fournier. Everybody clear out." And like I said, you can't guard them. They're too slow. And then what ends up happening is because they've blown by them and they've gotten to the rim. What that now does is that sets up Mitch for getting in foul trouble, and we need Mitch to stay out of foul trouble. So I think that this team needs to play zone or at least like a box and one and have Grimes cover the best player on the floor and have him run around the whole time. Like I
Yeah,
Listen,
I
said,
haven't
because
heard boxing
I,
in a
I was
minute.
I was
I
I was
haven't heard
gonna
that
I
in a
was gonna
minute.
I was
like I
gonna
said,
actually say boxing one because I don't think the zone would work, but I think a boxing one would work better
and
with
yeah,
Mitch being able to still protect that paint.
but because I think I looked at it, like we are like 21st or 22nd in the league in defensive rating. Like we are in the bottom half, when the bottom 10 teams of the league. Like I said, this man defense just does not work for
It
this
doesn't
team.
work
We
for us.
we don't have the players. Um, we're slow, and so like I said, I think that Tibbs does need to change whatever it is. I don't know if somebody needs to get into his ear and say, "Hey, here's what I think that you should do. And I'm also not sure how receptive Tibbs is to trying something new, and what he's done his whole career besides 2 seasons has worked for him. And it's hard. Like, if you go into your job every single day for the last 20 years, and you do the same thing over and over and it's worked for you, and all of a sudden somebody comes and says, hey, this is how we're doing things, like, it's not easy for you to get over because you're so stuck in the old ways.
Yeah.
And not just that. And they're saying, well, you're not being successful doing it the way you used to do it, but then you didn't give him the pieces that he needed to do what
Thank you, Steph. Thank you.
he
Thank
did.
you.
I mean, we're not going to have an opportunity to talk about it other than briefly, but I'm just, Tibbs is not having his best season. I'm not going to even say he is. He's not. But so many of us are calling for Tibbs' head, and no one is really focusing on that front office. Like, I feel like this has been the Knicks forever. When we're talking about changing culture, it's the blame game. Somebody always has to take the fall, and it's always been, for the most
The
part, the
coach.
coach. The front office, well, but the front office gets a longer leash. It's always been the coach. When you look at this particular season, you can point to Tibbs, no doubt about it. You got to point to that front office as well. And then you also have to point to the players underperforming. Randall underperformed most of this season until that West Coast swing, right? RJ didn't really get going till December, maybe January. Fournier's up and down. Kemba didn't work out. So, nobody's talking about the front office needs to get up out of here. But Tibbs needs to get up out of here. So I feel like that's part of the Knicks culture, playing the blame game, thinking, oh, this is just your fault. No, there's enough fault to go around. And if you're going to bring that front office back, and you didn't trade Randall, you didn't trade Fournier, you didn't get rid of those guys that's underperforming, Tibbs deserves another year as well.
And like you, go ahead, Tony.
And you,
real quick, the front. I think the front
then I'll get to the super
office.
chats.
I think the front office needs to step up and come out and publicly support Tibbs. And the reason I say that is what the Tibbs is under the most pressure regardless, because it's always going to be year by year, season by season, each individual season he's going to be judged by that period. The front office, they've set us up beautifully long term. The contracts that we have, no, they're gonna be easily moved next year if need be. You know what I mean? They're not cap strapped. They're not stuck in any long term bad contracts. Even Randall's extension is a relatively good contract based off his production, his current production. You know what I mean? So it's not even like the front office, like they made a slip up, but you always got to look at them with the long term view, because that's the way they set everything up. They didn't do any. They didn't do something like, all right, it's win now, championship or bust. You know what I mean? Like, this was kind of like a baby step, or even if you want to call it like a slip up, a hiccup. You know what I mean? But it didn't affect them moving forward. So I think that's part of the reason why the front office is going to get that longer leash. Tibbs is always going to be on the hot seat year by year, performance by performance. It's up to them to stand by him publicly. Say, you know what I mean? Like, and let, because the scrutiny is really coming from the inside, minus the report of, Wes talking to Dolan and putting the blame on Tibbs. I don't know how true that story is, but you know what I mean? The heat is coming from us, the media, and so forth. I don't know how much of the heat is coming from the front office, especially with their relationship, especially with what we've been through with Mills in the past, and that debacle. So I think we have somewhat of the PTSD, and you know what I mean? Like, we might be stirring stuff up that's not even there. And then I got a question about Kemba for you guys. What do you think is more detrimental for his trade value in particular, moving forward, sitting him not playing him and then trying to move him in the off season or continuing to play him and taking the chance that hey, he might have some good games, he might have some bad games, but people will say like they got to see him do the duration of a season and make a decision on a 1 year, $9 million trade, trade.
Right.
So I'm gonna
I mean,
answer your question, but before I answer your question, you have to remember they removed a defensive guard that Tibbs loved to an offensive guard that who plays no defense. Then you moved um a defensive wing that could knock down a three to someone that's a little shaky. So you got to remember, and also you added new pieces. So it's not like he had the same exact team he had from last year. He has people that has to learn the system and learn their roles in the system. So that's one thing that we have to think about, and that's something that always plays into my mind. As far as um Kimba goes, I think with him, if you want somebody that's going to play offense, if you want somebody that's going to run your team and push the ball or to whatever his stint is, then yeah, you take him. But if you want a team that's trying to win and y'all a defensive minded team, y'all want to lock down people, I don't think you're going to go with him unless you play in a zone because he's not playing defense on any other guard. And most of these guards that's in this league now, they they go to the basket. You know what I'm saying? Look at Morant and all of these guys, these young boys. They're taking him to the basket. They're doing what they're supposed to do. So you got to decide if you want the offensive side where he kind of runs and he gets his points, or you want somebody when the last 5 minutes of the game or the last 2 minutes of the game, you're gonna put your point guard to go to the basket because you know he can't play them. So that means that he can't play in that last 2 minutes of the game because you need somebody that plays defense. So you have to decide what you want to do with him. And I don't know if he can play the last 2 minutes. I think the last 5 minutes is always gonna be somebody like Rose or Burks.
right.
So do you
I
want
mean, I
that
mean,
guard that can't finish?
right. I mean, to your point, Tony, I think that the rest of the NBA knows who Kimba is at this point. And I think even now he's gotten enough minutes for them to be able to see that he has some
The bag.
value. Now, this is what I will say. He's never been a good defensive player, but because of how potent he was offensively, that took care of that. We also have to acknowledge that he's not playing the way he would usually play in this particular
Exactly.
offense. You could definitely get more out of Kimba if the ball was in his hands and he was running the offense. He's one of those guys that has to have the ball in his hand. Right now, he's playing off of Randall at this point. If a shot is falling, that's great. But if it's not, oh well, right? So he's in a different role. You put him in that same role on a second team, he'll have some value. So I think teams know that. The good thing is that he's playing every single game for the most part, so he's showing that he's healthy. I still think he's playing too many minutes, not just because we want other people to get those minutes, but just because of his health. I think 20 some odd minutes is, that's 18 to 22, 24 minutes is more than enough for Kimba, in my opinion. But to answer your question, I think they can sit him at this point. I think the rest of the NBA kind of knows who he is now. Not even historically, they know who he is now.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Um, Gavin, did you have any? I forgot the question we were talking about. Oh, I think you weighed. Did you weigh in on it already?
Well, not on the last question that Tony just added, but I'll give my 2 cents real quick. Yeah, like you said, Steph, I agree. I think that over the totality of his career, teams know what Kemba is. They know what type of player he is. They know that the role that he's in now is not what he's used to playing. And I'll also say that's something for like Tibbs. The front office knew what type of coach Tibbs was when they hired him. His coaching philosophy from when he started with the Bulls has not changed to where it is now. Kimba's role that he was in to his whole career had never changed until it is now. And like I said, it's one of those things you're asking for a coach to change up something that he's done for the last 10 to 12 years in a season. And when your coaching philosophy has been what you lived and died by, and like I said, and people say, well, what success has Tibbs had? What teams has he won with? When people say winning teams, first of all, that one constitutes a winning record. Like I said, Tibbs has only had 2 losing seasons in his entire career. The teams that he was with, the Bulls, for the most part, every year they at least made it to the playoffs. So yes, has Tibbs won a championship? No, he has not. But Tibbs has gotten teams to the playoffs with players that are his type of players. And like you said, if I'm a defensive minded coach, you can't give me an offensive player who does not play defense. And then what you can't do is give me these people, and then my philosophy that I've lived and died by, that's worked for me my whole career, you all of a sudden want me to change that, because now I have to learn how to coach a new way. And like I said, coaches in the NBA, in-game adjustments is not rebuilding the philosophy that you have grown your whole career over. And like I said, and it's just like I said, we wouldn't expect people to come to us to our job and tell us something to do different that we've done our whole tenure here. So you can't expect a player who has not been in this role before, who has been ball dominant. You can't expect him to come in and play off the ball and still give you these same productive minutes. We know he doesn't play defense. Why are we expecting him to play defense now? We know Tibbs plays vets. Why are we complaining about him playing young guys? And like I said, that's where you point to. If that's the case, then the front office needs to bring in somebody who goes along with what their philosophy is. If their philosophy is, look, we're going to build with young guys, then go get a coach who is about developing and about playing young guys.
Right. Right.
And like I said, but if you want vets, then you have a coach in Tibbs who is with vets. And I'll just say the last thing is, like I said, Tibbs has always played with vets. So this is something that's very new to him. So like I said, him changing his philosophy is not an overnight thing. And like I said, for all we know, like I said, he could be open to changing, but it's like when your back is, if I'm trying to change when my back is against the wall, I regress and go back to what I know. And like I said, Tibbs is not sitting here looking himself in the mirror saying, yeah, I'm gonna tank. We're gonna acquire drafts and we're gonna be better next season. Tibbs is saying, no, I have a name, I've coached this many years. What I have done has worked for me. And I have too much respect for myself to sit here and just think that I'm going to lose games. But like I said, if the front office, if they need to figure out first what direction they want to go in, and I think that's the
Right.
biggest problem is I don't even know that our front office knows what direction they want to go in. And I think it's because I think they had a direction until
And then
last
we
year when
won.
we got, and then we won. And here's the thing: when you're in New York, when you win, that is the expectation. And I think that the almighty 4th seed was the biggest detriment to us, because if we didn't win last year, I don't think Randall was here this year. I think Randall was playing somewhere else, or no, this would have been his last year here, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So this would have been Randall's last year. He wasn't getting an extension, and I think that they were the plan for the last 2 years, which is why they were building up these
Right.
draft capitals,
Right.
was
Right.
to go get a superstar.
Right.
The almighty 4th seed is what hurt us, and I think that's what's up in there. And the front office didn't know what to do because they're in win now, and we're not a win now team.
Right.
Yep.
Let me get to some of these super chats. Shout out to Ayub Martin, top 10 pick incoming. Top 10 pick incoming. Let's not mess it up. Listen, we already know about Knicks and draft picks. This front office is actually doing well with draft picks. So I don't even think we need to be top 10 to find a player that we can use. Um,
And remember,
and
you
the
can move
lottery,
down in the drafts.
the way the lottery is now, there's no guarantee. I mean, we had the worst record in the league and fell to 3.
Hmm.
There's just no guarantees with the
And
way
this
the
isn't that
lottery
strong of
is
a
now.
draft class this year.
Right. Let me get to Jeremy Maynard, grace and peace. The clear fatigue of the vets during the horrific pattern of collapse is the common sense justification for the increase in minutes. Appreciate you. the super chat, and there was one more that I might have missed because I believe there was three.
Do y'all think Tibbs will ever take the ball out of Randall's hand and let the point guards actually be
If
point
we get
guards?
one, but you got to get one.
You have to get a point guard
You got to
first.
get a point guard. Who you putting the
I'm
ball
just
hands in?
asking a
You
question.
putting it in
That's it. I'm
Kimba's
just
hands. You
asking a
putting it
question.
in you putting it in McBride's hands. You putting it in IQ's hands. Maybe when Rose comes back, if you want to put it in Rose's hands. But how many minutes can Rose play?
The problem, I think, had Tibbs really had the trust and faith in Kimba, he would have made the team adjust. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I
Okay.
think, and no, that's not a knock on Tibbs, but I think we probably would have been a better team had Kimba been allowed to play his game. You know what I mean? And then because he's not a bad facilitator, you know what I mean? He can get to the rim, and that's how he gets to become a good passer by penetrating. But he needs the ball in his hand to be super effective, and it's been an adjustment for him. Then it's been an adjustment for Tibbs. It's been an adjustment for his teammates around him who aren't really used to him. So it's really been a tough road for the whole team. Not giving them any justification because it's still
Right.
been a disappointment. But
Right.
it
No
was an
doubt.
uphill battle from the beginning.
Right. Matan Future, we literally have one building block in RJ. I disagree. I think we have more building blocks than that. But it takes time. This is RJ's third season. It takes time. We'll see. Um, so let's get a little more specific about the young guys briefly before we move on to the next segment. Who do you want to see specifically? Who do you want to see increased minutes from? And whose minutes is he going to take from and why?
Hmm.
Tony?
I'm going with Grimes at the very least maintaining his current role, not necessarily starting, but you know minutes and I like his production. I love his defense. I think it's valuable whether he's starting, whether he's off the bench. So I'm going with Grimes, and unfortunately, I think Quickly has been given enough opportunity this year to I would move his minutes, decrease his minutes before I mess with anybody else in the current rotation. Me in particular. That's how I feel.
Okay. So when RJ, because basically when RJ comes back, we have to make a decision. Does Grimes go back to the bench? So you're saying he goes back to the bench, but he stays in the rotation and actually gets more minutes. Um, I have his stats right here. On the season, Grimes is averaging 17.9 minutes, 6.5 points, 2 rebounds, and assists, shooting 42.1% from the field, almost 40% from three. And he's another one that has to get this
Good
free throw
numbers.
shooting up 64.7% from the free throw line. But in his 6 games as a starter, he's averaged 32 minutes, 13 point, that's a lot. 32 minutes, 13.3 points, 3.3 rebounds, 1.3 assists, shooting 45.8% from the field, 43.8% from three, but that and only 62.5% from the free throw line. So he definitely has to um, get that up as the rest of the team does. But those are really good numbers, especially the field goal percentage and the 3-point percentage. So that kind of supports what you're saying. I don't have Quickly stats here, but I can tell you they're not that good. So that just supports what you're saying, that he may come out of that starting lineup, but he could take some of Quickly minutes. Now, this is another thing I'll say though. Tibbs is not one to stretch his rotations to 11. 10 to me is a stretch for Tibbs. He
Mhm.
probably prefers 9. So I think if Grimes plays, quickly may come out of the rotation altogether.
Mhm.
And we're going to get a chance to see who does he trust both those guys. We're going to
He
get a chance
does.
to see who does he trust more. Grimes is playing better. We can also make this argument. Does Can he stay in the starting lineup over Fournier? Let me read off Fournier's numbers.
Mm.
So
Yes.
Fournier
Ooh.
Fournier has played 57 games as a starter. 29 and a half minutes per game. Grimes 32 in his 6 games. Fournier's averaging four. And now the Grimes numbers, that when I do the comparison, I'm talking about Grimes as a starter. Fournier, 14 and a half points. Grimes, 13.3. Fournier, 2.9 rebounds. Grimes, 3.3. Fournier, 1.9 assists. Grimes, 1.3. Fournier, 42.4% from the field. Grimes, 45.8. Fournier, 39.4% from 3. Grimes, 43.8. And Fournier shooting better from the line, 72.3 versus 62.5. Now, in Fournier's defense, this is a huge sample
Mhm.
size, right?
Mhm.
57 games. Grimes is just 6. Um, but, we talking about keeping Grimes in that rotation. What about keeping him in the starting lineup? Like, would you um, play him with RJ and move Fournier to the bench?
Yeah.
Or, like Tony said, just keep him in the rotation over IQ? Gavin?
Um, me, I think here's a big thing is we have too many players that play the same position.
We do.
We have too many guards and not enough minutes to go around. So I think the first thing is Kemba either A needs to go warm the bench, keep the knee pads on, or keep the heating pads on, or put some street clothes on, or the front office needs to waive him. Like,
Wow. He has a guaranteed contract next year.
Mm.
sacrifice the money.
Okay.
or
Okay.
find a way
Mm-mm.
to or find a way to move him. Like, maybe don't waive him, but you need to either move him or he needs to. I'm sorry, but he needs to go back to the bench. Um, I think that I would like Grimes to stay in the starting role. I think that he gives us a better chance to win. The only thing is our second unit likes to run, and Evan Fournier does not. He's not a run and gun type of player. He's a half court type of player. So Fournier in that second unit doesn't really work. And so I think that's why Tibbs keeps him in the starting unit, because to me, Quentin Grimes should go out there and give you 48 and not look gassed at all. So I think that you can start Fournier, but I think Fournier's minutes needs to be reduced a little bit once RJ's comes back. Um,
Mhm.
Kemba's minutes need to be reduced. Um, the thing with IQ, it's hard. It's because the reason that IQ played better last year is because he played the role I'm a Kentucky fan, so I've been watching IQ since he was at Kentucky. He's a pick and roll shooter, and he's played with athletic bigs, and he throws a lob up. Like, that's what he does. He is not a point guard, and this goes to another thing. We're asking quickly to run the
Mhm.
point and play make, and that's not who he is.
Mhm.
He is somebody who runs off momentum. Set me a screen. I'm pulling it, good shot or bad shot. But the thing that I can at least respect with quickly is shooters shoot. He's going to shoot himself into a slump, and he's going to shoot himself out of a slump. Like, he's not going away from that. And you need people like that. The thing with IQ, though, is you need to teach him how to hone it in. Like, I
Right.
get that you want to come down here
Mhm.
and pull it up, but like, we see certain fast breaks, bro. If it's a 2-on-1, 3-on-1 fast break,
Right.
why are you pulling up from three
Right.
feet behind the line? Keep
Right.
pushing the ball up the floor and dish it off. Something like that. But I think that
Right.
our big problem is we have too many guards who play the same position. I think that it gets harder once Rose gets back, and that's really where you see what happens. But like I said, Kemba needs to have his minutes
But
reduced. I think
who
if
you
that
putting in? So
so
that's the
that's
question. Who are you gonna
so
start? Who are you putting in? Are you gonna take Kimba out?
Who's
Who are you
starting?
putting in
I'm taking Kemba out as much as I feel like Derrick Rose, we need him on the bench. I think that
Mm-hmm.
Derrick Rose is the glue guy. Move quickly to the two
Mm-hmm.
with Randall, Fournier, and RJ. With those guys having experience, I don't think it's a bad idea to put Deuce in the starting lineup because I think that the other guys can pick up the slack for him. Like I said, now I'm not expecting uh, Deuce to go out there and give me 20. I'm expecting Deuce to go out there, pick up full court, play some defense, play hellified help defense, and and get your buckets where they come. Um,
So that
and
means
I
he because Randall handles the ball because I know for a fact McBride is not going to be handling the ball, so
and
he's going to be
and
playing
and
off Randall.
this is the other and that's the thing is in our starting five minus Mitch, so our starting four, they're all ball dominant players. We have four ball dominant players in the starting lineup. Like the ball's got to get out of somebody's hands. So we do need an off ball type of guard. But honestly, I think that McBride can play off the ball because, like I said, I'm not looking for him to be on the offensive side. I would rather McBride score zero and only give up 10 points on the defensive side, get a couple of rebounds, get a couple of stiffs, go out there and get some steals and some deflections. And I'm cool with that. Because if
Okay,
Kemba's only giving me 9 anyways and giving up 29, I'm supplementing that. Give me zero and only give up 10, and I'll take
right.
that.
Okay, Chris, who out of the young players, if any, would you like to see get more time, and whose time would you decrease?
um, definitely quickly. Um,
You want to see him get more time,
no, I would decrease his time a little bit.
right? But who do you want to
Definitely would
see?
like to see Grimes a little more. Definitely would like to see McBride. I think I told y'all from the beginning, like I feel like he's our point guard. I think he needs a chance, but I think some like Tony said before, when you throw him in the fire, you don't know what's gonna happen. Um, but I would like to see him get a little more minutes in there. Um,
Over Kimba?
yeah,
Because the point I'm trying to get at, we always talking about who we want to see, but you got to talk about whose minutes you want to lessen because you're just not gonna, there's only but so many minutes to go around. So you want
I
Grimes
think
to get more
honestly,
minutes
Kimba.
and Kimba minutes to come down.
I think honestly, Kimba's knees and the idea that Tibbs doesn't trust him that well. I think that's playing a thing. I don't know if Tibbs is using that as his advantage or what he's doing, but it just doesn't seem like Kimba's his guy. Um, so I mean, like Gavin said, I mean, I would take a chance on trying to see who what we could get for Kimba because I just feel like he's not going to get the playing time that he deserves. So I feel like let's let him go somewhere where he can get some playing time. You know what I'm saying? That might hurt us on the long end because we need another quality backup point guard, but that gives an opportunity to see what a McBride can do. Um, I definitely want to see more Obi, and that's just my personal thing that I want to see him because I feel like he
Over
has
who
been.
though?
That's the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't really know. Like I feel like sometimes, you know, um,
Randall could get some limited, like drop 5 minutes, give Obi an
Randall's
extra
he
minutes
five.
needs to be
can, and
dropped
it's
because
the
he's
thing. It's
gassed.
like he's the way he was playing. Like I see that he was feeling more comfortable, and he had like a rush to show people that he wanted to be here. This is his team. He wanted to play. So I think that contributed to his last couple performances where he did the double doubles and stuff like that. But I feel like how long can he go doing that? You know what I'm saying? I think some of his minutes needs because if we're gonna go for a push, then we're gonna need him towards the end of the season when it really matters. So
But
I
this is
think
the
kind of
thing.
pulling, huh?
Even if you bring Randall's minutes down to 32,
Hmm.
that's still just 16 minutes for Obi. Is that enough? Because the issue with yeah. Okay.
I
I'm
would like
okay with
to
that.
see.
I'm
I
okay
mean,
with 32
you
minutes
know
and
what, honestly,
16 for
Steph,
Obi. Hmm.
honestly, I just feel like we won't know until we try. And I don't
No, no, no,
think
no,
that
no.
I
We're gonna try it. The question,
Yeah,
the
that's what I'm
point,
saying. I don't
the
know until we try, and I don't think that Tibbs was open. He might be open now to it, and I hope that he's open to at least giving these guys a chance because I feel like he's been working the veterans so much. He's been working the starter so much that I feel like at the end of the day, you need to give him some rest because the last 2-3 minutes have been critical for us because we're always in a game of either catch up or trying to maintain, and it's always the last 2 minutes, the last minute that's critical for us, and our players are tired.
right. I
They're
agree with
making
you.
mental mistakes.
But what I'm saying is people are talking about they want all of these minutes for Obi. The max we're talking about is 16 minutes.
And I think
Because you're
that's good
not
for
playing.
him. I think that's
Okay,
good for him.
okay, all right. Because I know there's some Nick fans that feel like they
No,
want
I
Obi
don't
to
think he
play
should be a starter now.
20
I'm not going to
minutes.
say that. I
No, no,
I
still
I'm not
think
think
talking
he
that
about a
has some
starter.
stuff to go.
They want him to
But
play
I
20 minutes. Hold on, Chris. In order for him to play 20 minutes, that means Randall's playing 28 minutes. That's not going to ever
no,
happen.
no.
You know? And the other thing with Obi is he can't play the three, and Tibbs is not a fan of the small ball lineup, which would open up more minutes for him because Tibbs is for rim protection and that interior defense. And the Knicks is actually in top 10, top 5 in that um in that category. Um so that's cool. I mean, I would like to see Randall minutes go down as well. I think he would definitely be more fresh
That's what
to
I'm saying.
close. Tom?
can I
Yeah.
also wouldn't mind seeing uh a decreased, maybe Taj dropping down to 10 or under 10, and seeing Sims get a little bit more exposure out there. So I'm not against the young guys getting a couple more minutes. I think Taj be looking just as he looked like Julius gassed, or if
Yeah, he
not
do.
worse. You know what I
That's
mean?
probably why he beat people up
With
on the D.
16 minutes. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
he be, I'm like, yo,
But
Tiz,
you
you don't
know
see
what?
him.
Right. Tips. Some of these guys that are not in the rotation, in order for them to get increased minutes, it's not even whose minutes are going to go down, it's who's coming out of the rotation because he's not playing more than 10.
That's true.
So
That's a
Sims
fact.
is not in the rotation. So if you want Sims to get more minutes, that means Taj is out of
That's true.
the rotation.
And
Gavin,
God
go
forbid
ahead.
Noel comes back, we might not even
Oh,
seen Taj.
So
So
right.
like Taj
But
so
is
that's
probably getting
but
Noel's
but but
minutes.
this is one thing about Tibbs. He's very consistent when he says situational because soon as Noel comes back, Taj doesn't play at all. He doesn't play.
Can we
s-
pitch in
Gavin.
for some weighted sneakers for Taj and Mitch? Because I'm kind of tired of seeing them cleaning up the floor. Somebody blow real hard on Noel, and he's flying across the floor. I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on with that
um
court.
Yeah.
the and it's two things real quick. Honestly, I don't see Tibbs playing Sims at all. And so I think the best thing for him is he needs to do him like Deuce and send him down to the G League.
Yeah.
Because why are we having Sims on the bench? I want to say the Sims probably hasn't played more than 10 G League games this whole year. Like for the most part, he's been on the bench this entire season. But
Right.
why do you have a guy on the bench that you're not playing at all who's a rookie that can go down and get some development in the G League? And I think that's another thing that fans don't understand is, and it's like your thing, Steph, is people who are just fans who have not been around the game, who don't understand how actual player development works, thinks that playing in an NBA game and using it as a playground to get
Right.
reps is development. That's what the G League is for. Now, granted, the competition is very different from there, but I think one of the biggest examples of somebody who developed perfectly in the G League is Fred VanVleet. I think his first 2 or 3 seasons, he primarily played in the G League. What happened? His fourth year, he comes up to Toronto. He was still behind Kyle Lowry. And then what happens? As soon as Kyle Lowry gets out, now he's your dude, and he's up there averaging 20, 22 points a game. I
Ready.
think that Sims needs, he's ready because he's been playing. And also you lose a lot of in-game conditioning when you're not playing. I'm just sitting on the bench and I'm playing in practice, and we're not really going 100% in practice.
Mm-hmm.
My game is going to regress because I haven't put the ball on the floor so long. I don't even know what it looks like to have the ball go in the hoop anymore. So I think that if you're gonna send Deuce up and down, go ahead and send Sims down there because I think that you're hurting him by not playing him. And I think the other thing that
And
none of
Sims
us
is real
mentioned,
raw. I don't even know if he's right. I mean, this is what we
he
talk about in terms of putting people on the floor who's not ready because we want to give them experience. Sims was the 58th pick in the draft. And there was a reason he played that entire 4 years. Kai Jones came and went on that team. I think Allen might have been before him. There was somebody else, the center for Hayes from New Orleans,
yeah.
came and went, and Sims was still there. You
I
know, he
think
needs
And
a
then
little more polish.
I think the reason why Sims is on the bench is because we have two centers that get hurt very quickly. And
Mm.
I think they need another body because Taj can't play the
You
40,
couldn't
so they
tell
need
because
somebody.
he not
I was about
playing.
to say,
No, but I'm
like
saying
it's
I think
crazy
he's there
because
for a body because
Yeah,
Mitch,
Jackson
somebody he
Hayes.
roll his ankle. Noel is always he pull a leg, he fall down. You don't know what's gonna happen with these two guys, so you definitely need that extra body on the bench.
Hey Chris, you made a great point because I was just gonna make the argument that I feel like he's on the bench because he's closer to be put in the game by
Yeah,
Tibbs. I didn't have a justification for it, but you just gave me a very good
yeah, because
justification for
Mitch
it.
fall
Like
down,
you
fall
never know
back.
with either
You know
one
what
of
I'm
those
saying?
bigs. You know what I mean? They may go down and be out for the game, any game. Knock on wood, always.
and then my last point is I think one thing like none of us brought up is I think we need to figure out where Cam's minutes are coming from.
True.
Like I said,
Well,
okay, yeah,
let me make my point. Everybody said that was my, which which player do we want to see play more and at whose expense? I would like to see Cam play more, and I would like to see Burke him take Burke's place in the rotation. Because
Damn,
remember,
Steph.
Burke is because Tibbs is not going to play more than 10. So if
Yeah.
you're taking somebody out the rotation, you're not going to be able to just bring Burke's minutes down. That's still 11 players. Now, but this is what I will say. I'm not playing Cam to get Cam experience. I'm not playing Cam because we used a first round draft pick. I don't care. I'm trying to win.
Yeah.
I'm
do you
putting
think
Cam.
that
Mhm.
playing Cam gives us a better chance of winning?
Oh, this is the thing. This is the
Can I
thing.
make the
The
argument
only
real
reason
quick?
I'm saying, the only reason I'm saying is that Burks has not been playing well of late.
Yes.
And
He's tired, Steph.
I think because of that, I would put Cam in. He just hasn't been playing well of late. Um, but this is what I will say about Cam. It's going to be up and down. It's going to be rocky when you put him in there. I know everybody is really high on him. He's one of them guys where one game he's going to look great, and then another game,
But see, I think
not
that
so
Cam
It
is
might
much.
also
even
the
be the
type of
same game.
but see, I think that Cam is also the type of player that he's up and down it will be up and down initially because he doesn't play. Like Cam is the type of player that he needs minutes to play. And like I said, people don't understand it's hard coming off the bench in the NBA. Especially like when you were like a starter at Duke, and
Mhm.
people were looking at you as the guy, and then I mean, even the games where he contributed big minutes to Atlanta. Now, granted, it didn't work out with him because he just didn't fit with what they had going on. Cam's the type of player that he is a 28 to 35 minute player type of guy.
Mhm.
Like and his mentality is almost like quickly. When I come in, I'm going to get a bucket. I'm not coming, and if I'm coming off the bench, and I know I'm only playing 8 minutes. I might as well go get up my shots
Mm-hmm.
because I'm only playing 8 minutes. But him,
But
he's
that's
one of
why I'm
those.
talking about Burke coming out of the rotation so that he
Yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
play.
And so, but now it comes down to a thing, like you said, Tibbs trusts Burks. So it's like and that's the thing right
It's what
there
I would
where
do. Tibbs ain't doing it. That's what I would do. Tibbs ain't do because he trusts Berg. He trusts Berg. And listen, you can't get on a coach for that. Here's Cam.
Exactly.
Tibbs is a guy where trust is a big thing. If he trusts you, you're going to get a long leash, right? RJ got a very long leash. IQ is getting a very long leash. Randall, Mitch too. Mitch didn't play, well. Whatever he can get out of Mitch, he put Mitch in when Mitch was overweight and was having issues with the injury. If he doesn't trust you, your leash is like this,
Yep.
really short. Cam is coming in from another team in the midst of a season. That's gonna have to be a front office call.
Mm-hmm.
Because Tibbs is gonna go with who he trusts, and Cam doesn't have that time in yet. All right, Tony, and then we'll move on
I,
to the next segment.
yeah, I also think the fact that Burks and, like you mentioned earlier, Gavin, quickly are both kind of playing out of position more in the game than not. I think that's giving them more of a leeway, or what I mean, more of that's buying them some time with Tibbs, like because he's asking these guys to do things that doesn't put them at their best position to
Yeah.
succeed. You know what I mean? And you kind of got to reward a guy for that. So I think if we do see Cam and Burks is out, I think that's a clear sign that it's about seeing what we have in them, developing, getting these guys the time on the floor. I don't necessarily think if Tibbs does that, it's because it's about winning. And I only say that because these guys are being asked to do, play at a position that is not necessarily their strength, and it's out of necessity. So, but at the same time, Cam, if he shows something defensively, that could get him the nod, because now you got a taller guy, a more athletic guy, a a bigger wingspan. You know what I mean? Like, he's capable of really guarding some
1 through
threes,
4.
twos, ones, and giving them trouble. You know what I mean? Not just
Mm-hmm.
a stopgap defender, which, nothing taken away from Burks. That's what he is. He can kind of guard a 1, 2, or 3. You know what I mean? Maybe not for the entire game, but he can switch and it not be a liability. So if Cam can show that, I think he could get the nod.
Mm. Can you envision
Yeah.
a new lineup coming into the next game? Like Tips
Well,
taking
this is a
turns?
better question. And before we got to move on to the next segment, though. Who would you start coming out of the break, Chris?
I would go with Rose, RJ. I would go with Cam, Randall, and Mitch.
Okay, Tony.
If I could start Rose, I'm starting Rose, absolutely. But I think they got a backhand agreement that he's not starting. I think he don't want to start. But I'm gonna go with Rose. um, Grimes, RJ, Randall, Mitch.
Okay.
Gavin.
Like you said, if we can start Rose, I'd like to start Rose. I mean, I still think that takes away from our bench, which in the NBA you have to have a bench. So that's the thing. We're either going to sacrifice in the starting unit or we're going to sacrifice in the bench. And from the good games that we did have, and when we were winning in the beginning of the year, our bench was the one, like say Mob Deep. They're the ones who were getting us through these games. Again, I'd like to keep. I don't know. I don't have an answer for it because, like I said, I just think that we have people playing out of position. We've got Grimes who should be starting, but you can't really move Evan to the second unit because second unit likes to run and gun. That's not Fournier, so you can't really move him to the second unit. That's another front office thing. If we paid to do $76 million or however much they paid him, I don't think that they're letting that slide to where they're saying, yeah, go ahead and put Evan on the second unit. Like, that's not happening. So I don't have an answer because we have too many people playing the same position. Tibbs's rotation is so limited, so it's just like I said, you sacrifice on the starting unit or the bench unit. But the one change I like to see is if we can start Rose. I mean, I would like to start him, but then he just has to be on a minutes restriction at that point because I mean you can't afford, if we are gonna make a push, you can't afford for Derrick Rose to go down. And like you said, Tony, I actually never thought of that. Derrick Rose may not want to start because I think he probably looks at like what Tibbs does with the other dudes. Like Rose is probably, I know him and Taj are talking, and Taj is like, "Hey, bro, he just played me 35 minutes.
I
What
knew
you
he
think
was
he
gonna.
gonna do with? What you think he gonna do with you when you come back? You playing 40."
I knew he was gonna say that.
So it's like I said, we have vets who can't who are past their time. And like I said, and Tibbs is still trying to use them. And so I said, I don't have an answer, but I would like to see somehow, some way, just Rose come back and make an impact, whether it's starting or coming off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see Rose start, play 20 minutes, and then I would like to see McBride play in that second in that second unit. But I get what you're saying. That's a lot of youth in that second unit because I would go Rose. Rose would be the only change I would make in the current starting unit. I don't think Fournier plays well in that second unit. But now your guards in that second unit are IQ, Grimes, Cam, Obi, and Noel is not even on the team. Like you
Yeah,
can't
he
even
doesn't sound
say Noel. You know, um, I would play Taj over Sims, but I wouldn't play him 20 and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Like I would play Taj like 15 minutes. Like that's it.
And
You know.
if we really have to, if Rose is strictly coming off the bench,
Mhm.
I guess I'll live with what IQ is going to give us. But like
Starting,
I
starting. You're saying
starting, but I just think that if he's going to start, you're going to have to facilitate the offense through Randall or RJ. I'm not. I don't even think Tibbs is really comfortable, which is why Quickly doesn't start. And like I said,
I
and that's why I think
But
that
he could
Kimba.
play off of them though. He could
and I
because
think
he could
he's better
shoot.
off starting. I think he's better
He
off
could play
starting
off of them.
because he doesn't necessarily, he's the point guard by position,
Default.
but like
Yeah.
like
Right.
like Steph is saying, that puts him kind of back into his natural role of catch and shoot off the pass, shoot off the pick and roll, where he doesn't have to focus on facilitating. RJ's capable, Randall's capable, so that I think that could work as well.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So I
With
I,
IQ
I
in the
actually
starting
I don't.
lineup. But then now McBride is not in the rotation because if you're starting IQ, now Rose is the point guard. Rose, you're talking Rose, Grimes, Cam over Burke. I would just because Burke hasn't been playing well. And
I'll live with it
Obi.
is if it means that Kimba's not in the starting unit. I can live with Deuce not playing if as long as Kimba's not out there giving up career nights to people. I can live
Mhm.
with it, and Deuce will just have to get it how he lives, and he'll just have to get his minutes if and when they come. If not, we just rock out the rest of the season with IQ Rose, and then if for some reason something happens, Kimba will be situational.
Yeah. Shout out to our run, Devon. Arch Hustles. I'm not sure who Arch is.
I think he's talking about Arcidiacono Ryan. I think is who he's talking about.
Oh,
The point guard.
the guard.
Yeah,
We barely in 5 minutes.
he's not playing this year.
Right,
He's not playing. He's there.
right,
He's the last resort.
right.
Yeah.
Tibbs gonna love him. He gets minutes. We can't even find minutes for McBride. And as someone
For
in
real.
the chat pointed out, when Rose comes back, somebody's coming out of that rotation. Is it Kemba that's coming out, right? Somebody has to come out of the rotation. Um, yeah. All right. Let's move to this last segment. There's been a lot of talk with Garland making his first All-Star team. There's been some, people on he was in the same draft class as Barrett. I forgot somebody in the chat or on the panel, if you remember, I meant to look this up. What draft pick was Garland in that?
I
So
think he was the fifth pick. I want to say he was the fifth pick.
Okay. All right. So there was some on and even Perkins was giving us the business that we made a mistake. Now, listen, for me, I'm good. But the question is to the chat and to the panel, seeing Garland in his first All-Star game playing a position of need for us, any regrets? Well, first, I would like to know, who did you want going into that draft? And two, any regrets now with us
That's the RJ
choosing?
bat? The RJ draft?
That was the RJ draft.
Yeah,
Any
I'm
regrets
rocking with RJ.
now with the RJ taking RJ over Garland? And let me just briefly go over their season. This year, Garland is averaging 20.3 points per game, Barrett 18. Garland 3.3 points per game, Barrett 5.7. Garland 8 assists a game, Barrett 2.6. Garland is shooting 47.7% from the field, Barrett 41.2%. Garland is shooting 37.8% from three, Barrett 35.4. Garland is shooting 91.1% from the free throw line, and Barrett is shooting 69.6% from the free throw line. That's the season. We'll discuss it a little bit, and then I'll go over the career numbers. So, Gavin, who did you want in that draft, and any regrets today?
Who I wanted was RJ, because RJ stated that he wanted to be in New York. New York is the toughest sports market to play in, no matter if it's baseball, basketball, or football. It's the media capital. It's like I said, even when we are the worst team in the league, there is still national headlines and pressure on the Knicks to do something. Like I said, at least make the play-in game, or at least be better than what we are now. So the fact that RJ stated that he wanted to be here, to me, and this is why I think he's better suited to play in New York than Randall is because I don't think that RJ gets phased at all. Good games,
But he ain't
bad.
taking no heat either. But go ahead.
True. Good
Okay.
games, bad games, though. And so here's the other thing. And I think, to me, in New York, in the Knicks fans' eyes, I don't think RJ can do any wrong at all. Like, I think RJ can go on a slump of 2 months, and we're still going to say he's just having a bad slump. We know
he
what
has.
RJ, and he has.
Hey, you met Josh?
besides Josh,
And me, when he's playing like trash, I'll say it. But when he's playing well, I will also say he's playing well.
and like I said, I think the biggest thing about playing in New York is, to me, you have to have a dog mentality. Like,
Yep.
you have to have that Carmelo mentality. It's like, bro, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. Y'all gonna hate me. Y'all gonna love me. At the end of the day, I'm here for a reason. But you want somebody that wants to be in New York, because that signifies mentally that they're ready to be here. The thing with that draft class is, at that time, is we've been talking about a point guard for years that we know we have needed. But at the time, we had Emmanuel Mudiay and Frank Ntilikina, who the organization still thought was going to work out and was still hoping they were going to get production out of them. So although we needed a point guard, it wasn't as big of a need back then as we're seeing it is now. So I think
Right.
they went with what would fit best at the time and for the long run. And I think that was RJ Barrett. But I do have a question regarding this, and you guys can answer this as you give your take. Would you rather have Darius Garland's high floor or RJ's high ceiling? Because to me, I'm taking RJ's high ceiling, because I think that what you're seeing from Darius Garland right now is, I think that's who he is. But the other thing to that is Cleveland originally drafted him as a shooting guard because they had Colin Sexton running the point. It wasn't until the second year that they switched the roles. They moved Garland to the point, had Sexton at the two, but that was still Colin Sexton's team. and the ball was still in his hand. So the reason that we're seeing Darius Garland in this emergence is because there's no Ricky Rubio, there is no Colin Sexton. So he is the guy. He has the ball in his hands. So that's why. But I think that if Colin Sexton was there, I don't think that Darius Garland's an all-star. And like I said, because it goes back to the pecking order. If Colin Sexton is there, that's Colin Sexton's team. But to me, I'm taking RJ's high. I think his ceiling is higher than what Darius Garland is. And like you said, Darius Garland's, if this is his floor, it's a hellified floor. And I'll take it all day. But for building in the long run, I'm taking RJ's ceiling.
Okay. Tony, and then we'll get to Chris.
I liked Garland, but I wasn't picking him third. So unless we traded down to get him and knew we were going to get him at whatever pick we traded down to, I wasn't doing it. And even doing that, we would have needed to get an asset along with him because I think RJ has that star potential. I think Garland does too. I think he's honestly a product of the team put together around him. Him having the ball in his hands, it's always easier for a point guard to to shine because they have the ball in their hands from the beginning. You know what I mean of their of the game. So I think that's why he's perceived to be doing so well right now. But I'm still rocking with RJ. That guy is like Gavin said, he's unfazed and he's truly built for New York.
And that's hard. Even as a rookie, he was like that. Like, it's very hard to find people, especially in the age of social media, who is not. And like I said, RJ does not look phased one
But
bit.
but RJ does not get any smoke either. You'll hear a player here and there will say something. He's not getting when he went on that 2 month stinker of a stretch this year, he wasn't getting booed or anything. He's the golden child, you know. So there'll be some
Yeah,
players who'll say something here and there, but he hasn't gone through any adversity in New York yet. So
I
it remains to be seen whether he's built for it. Now, you could say if it ever gets to that point, you believe that he'll do well because of his demeanor, but we don't know because he don't get a lot of smoke. Um, Chris, who did you want in that draft, and any regrets?
I have no regrets, and I wanted RJ. I think when I saw him playing at Duke, I was like, yo, this guy would really fit in New York. I mean, the way he played, his toughness, and the way he got to business, I said, that's what we need at that time. We really were looking for something. So I'm definitely was RJ and still am a RJ fan.
Yeah, I wanted RJ going into the draft as well, and I don't have any regrets. I don't see a super duper star. I got to be honest.
He's
But if
solid though.
he, oh, he has a high floor. I don't know. We'll see. We'll definitely see. But I wanted RJ coming into that draft, and I don't have any regrets that we have him. If he doesn't become a Hall of Fame, or if he doesn't become All NBA, he's going to be a very, and I mean very good NBA player. So no regrets from me. Let's move on to the last segment where we look at our upcoming games and give our predictions. So, like we talked about, the Knicks are 25 and 34. They're 12th in the Eastern Conference. Friday, we play Miami, who is, let me actually, so I can see it. Okay. We play Miami, who is 38 and 21 and first in the Eastern Conference. Over their last 10, they're 6-1. We played them once this season and lost. Their offensive rating, they're ranked eighth. And in their defensive rating, they're ranked sixth. So they're top 10 in both offense and defense. Sunday, we play Philly, who's 35 and 23. They're third in the Eastern Conference, also 6-4 over their last 10. We played them early in the season and won both games. So we're 2-0 against them. Um, Offensively, they're ranked 14th in the league, and defensively, they're ranked 11th. The Knicks, by the way, are ranked 25th in offensive rating and 17th in defensive rating. Your thoughts, panel, on these upcoming two games? How do you think the Knicks are going to do?
Oof, we got some work to do.
All right, I'll start. 2-0. We're gonna beat Miami. We're gonna beat Philly again. And here's why.
Okay.
I mean, we gotta play our best basketball from now to the season's over. To be honest, hopefully Miami lays an egg. Maybe they took a little hiatus or vacation and took some time off, and they just overlook us as an easy win, and we beat them. I mean, I don't know. I'm just being super optimistic. We need wins. We need wins. Hopefully, if we continue to play as well as we've played in the last, again, 10 games or so, without relinquishing leads or going through these stretches where we can't find a basket or we're just switching to ISO ball. If we continue to team ball, Julius said it himself, we could beat anybody and we could lose to anybody. Let's get on a streak where we start beating some teams.
Okay. Chris, and then Gavin.
I'm gonna say 1-1. I think Miami is gonna be a tough game. But I think with Philly, even with the additions, I think we should be all right with them. So I'm gonna go 1-1.
Wow.
Realistically, 0-2, in my opinion. I
Mine
went to
too.
the Miami game. I think, again, and I hate to say it, I think Miami's going to run us out the Garden. I think one of the biggest things that it's going to be predicated on, though, is what type of game Julius Randle has. And it's sad because we say that for almost every game, that it depends on the type of game Julius has, but it does. The thing about Miami is their pace is just so fast, like we can't keep up with them. And Miami can uphold that pace for 48 minutes. We try to do it for 3 quarters. It works a little bit, but that fourth, like, we can't. So I think that if the Knicks try to keep up with Miami, I think we get run out the gym. Just I definitely see the Miami game is, I think this is another 40-minute game for Randall. I don't think we have an answer for Miami. Philly, I think that we'll lose. I think we have a better chance of at least putting up a fight with Philly, but from what I've seen, even if we go up, I have zero confidence that we will be able to hold the lead, just because we don't have a closer. And I think part of the thing that a trend that I noticed with the Knicks is these games that we go up and we have these big runs and we go up by 15, 20, 17 is it starts with the ball movement. Like, our ball movement looks great. The ball is popping everywhere. We're rebounding. We're chasing after, loose balls. We're in the passing lanes, getting deflections. And we do that for the first 2 quarters. Sometimes we do it for the third quarter. But what I've noticed is once the fourth quarter comes, everything slows down, one, because we're gassed. But when we give up the lead, and when I say give up, I mean, like, if we have 20 and we cut it down to 10, or we lose a league, we go into straight ISO mode. And I think it's because nobody on this team knows who the closer is. Like, I think that people want to look to Julius as the closer. I think deep down, I think Julius knows he's not a closer. Like, it's just not him. I think he can give you what he gives you, but you can't depend on him to close a game out for you. And then the other thing that we do is, for some reason, ball movement will work the 3 quarters will go up, and then for some reason in the fourth we start living and dying by the three. It seems like every single shot comes into ISO, or we chuck up a 3-point, a 3-point attempt with 3-4 seconds left on the shot clock, which is just beyond me, because and that's part of coaching. I don't see how you just completely fall apart from what worked the first, 30 minutes in the first three quarters of a game to how all of a sudden you just crumble. And to me, that's mentality of the players. I also think that's a little bit of pride. Like, bro, you have to take pride, especially when you're losing and you're continually getting run out of gyms. Like, you have to have a little bit of pride to say, look, we're up 30. Like, we're not losing this game. And to me,
Right.
we just don't have a dog on this team. I think RJ has the mentality. I don't think his game is where it's at to go out there and say, I can go close this game off for us. I think he'll get you a couple points, but I don't think that we have a closer. So realistically, I think that we go 0-2. I think our best fighting chance is with Philly. But to me, it depends on the fourth quarter. And for me, the
Right.
first like 10 minutes of how we come out in the first quarter is a big determining factor on how the rest of the game is going to go.
Right. Um, yeah. 0-2. I don't see the Knicks beating Miami, and I don't see the Knicks beating Philly. I hope they prove me wrong. We struggle with OK. We lost to OKC and we lost to Brooklyn. And we had a 28-point game lead in Brooklyn and couldn't close that game out without KD, without Kyrie, without Ben Simmons. I don't see us beating Miami. I don't see us beating Philly. I think the Knicks are going to go 0-2. And for those who want to see the young people, we're getting very close to being mathematically eliminated. Um, to do that, I think that, like I said in the beginning, the Knicks are struggling with things that you struggle with in the beginning of a season, and that's how to close a game. That's not something that you're struggling with 50 games into the season. And that's where the Knicks are. As for Randall, he's playing better. I'm encouraged by that. I think people, he's Gavin, to your point, in that last 5 minutes, that's money time. Though that's when those players come through for you by either getting to the line, hitting a key shot, getting a stop for you, hitting their free throws, not turning the ball over, getting other people involved. That's not Randall's game.
Yeah.
Nor
But
does
we
he
know that
want it to
already.
be his game. Like, I
Right.
see, like, in the last minutes, like, he visually on the court shies away from the ball. And I'm like, bro, like,
Yeah.
people are looking to you, but I mean,
He's not that. But we
he's
already
not
know
that.
that. And he's getting a lot of criticism down the stretch, but we already know he's not a number one. And I think, that's what your number one does. That's the guy that you can count on down the stretch. I mean, he's a number one on this team, but to close out a game, that's another level. And he's
Maybe D
just not.
Rose.
Yeah, he's just not there yet. And actually, that's the role D Rose played for us last year. He closed out a lot of games and had a lot of big shots for us down the stretch. He plays with a lot of confidence. So, you know,
Or made the
we're
pass that ended up.
right. We're asking him to do. We're asking Rose to do a lot when he gets back, and I'm not sure. I mean, he missed 30 games. 30 games. That's a lot. Anyway, um, yeah. Um, shout out to G Money. Also, Stephanie, we struggle against great teams. We are 9-22 versus teams 500 or better.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We struggling against bad teams too. And it's to the
Yeah.
point where I can't even say anymore, we should win this game. Why are we losing to OKC? I see we right in their boat. I mean, we may have a more talented team, if you just go player for player. But when you look at how we're playing, I don't have a lot of confidence going into a lot of these games that, oh, this is a definitive win. All right. Any last words?
Mhm. Go
Y'all
I
Knicks.
figure it
just
out.
Go Knicks.
I just keep telling myself that a couple years ago, I remember thinking, all right, I just want to get more than 17 wins. So, oh, we've come a long way, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna just try to enjoy the rest of the ride without expectation. That seems to be the best thing for my health and mental health. Um, I'll be back on Wednesday with a doubleheader. We got the Knicks and Bruises, and then we got the crossover. Steph, appreciate you, and your Blackest Time.
Gavin,
Salute,
any
Tony.
last words? Oh, Chris, you said yours already, but go ahead. You want another turn? Go ahead.
No, I said salute to Tony. I said what I
Salute.
had to say.
Gavin, any
Um,
last words before we get out of here?
Something's got to change. I don't know what it is, but I mean, if we're gonna make a push, something's got to change. And that's really it. I mean, something's got to change, either on the players end or, but it starts with front office. I think we just need to find a direction, but that's obviously not going to be made this year during the season. So I just think that something needs to change, and I mean, I guess we'll be waiting for our savior and D Rose to come back and let him run 30 minutes and see where it
Yeah.
gets us.
Yeah, RJ should be back too, right? And have we gotten any news on him? Is he supposed to be back after the break? We don't have any news, so we don't
They
know.
said
They
both
said
of
they
them will
said
be back.
after the break, but we haven't got an update or anything. I'm thinking tomorrow or Wednesday we should hear something from the Knicks
Hopefully.
because it was getting a little worrisome because we weren't really getting any news except sprained ankle. You know what I mean? They didn't even really say day to day. They didn't really say the severity or it doesn't seem bad or anything of the such. So, but being that we're off until Friday, I can't imagine him not being ready by then.
That is a long. The Knicks should be well,
Fresh. Fresh.
well rested. The last time we played was Wednesday. Yeah. Anyway, Nick family, we out of here. I appreciate you rocking with us every week. Thank you so much. Be easy this week. Listen, don't worry about the lottery. Don't worry about draft picks. Wherever we end up, that's where we end up. We'll pick at that place, at that spot. Hopefully, the young guys will get an opportunity to play, but I want them to get an opportunity to play because we believe they can help us win. Be easy, Nick family. We out.